Well, Michaela, thank you
Hi.
for coming and sharing some of your stories with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's all right. I'm very interested to hear them.
Yep.
You've got a couple of stories, a couple of encounters that you've had that you've sort of told me briefly about.
Yep. Growing up.
Before this,
Yep.
growing up. As you told me before, you used to live in the area that.
Yep. I lived on the same street.
Yeah, so we're not going to mention the name of the street.
Okay, true.
But yeah, so you lived on the same street many years ago. How long ago was that?
So that's about 30 years ago at least.
Wow.
So, yeah, 36 years actually. It's a long time.
This weather's changing, isn't it?
I know.
So just to let you know, we've got a storm coming in, we've got rain on the roof, thunder in the background, and the sun keeps coming in and out, but it makes for, it's very interesting. It's quite pretty out here. The actual encounters that you had weren't actually when you were living here though, were they?
No, they weren't.
So, Michaela, your first experience that you had was shortly after you moved away from the street here?
I moved away from the street when I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
We were living about 60 k's away, but I came back for a 21st that was in the hall, the Cedar Creek Hall.
Yep, Cedar Creek Hall.
I'm allowed to say that?
Yeah, so
just not the road.
Yeah, so the general area we're talking about is
around the
Tambourine, Cedar
Village
Creek
area.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend from this area, my childhood girlfriend, had her 21st there, and coming home at night round between 1-3, can't remember exactly, but after partying on for 21st, my husband pulled over because something with the fuse, some lights, can't exactly remember, wasn't working, so he's fiddling down below the steering, and at the time I was smoking, so I was holding the lighter, giving him a bit of extra light, and he was fiddling around, it was getting hot, so I was mucking around, touching him because it was getting a bit hot, and he all of a sudden started pointing and distracting me, going, oh my gosh, and I first thought he was mucking around, trying to scare me, because at that time we used to prank each other all the time, and totally ignored him, and he's basically got the keys in the ignition and took off, and yeah, the way he was reacting, then I started coming around thinking, okay, this is serious, what actually happened, and basically a huge shadow was slowly descending down from the embankment, and it really frightened him. There's no way it could have been a person. At the time there was absolutely no houses around there, and that time of the night you wouldn't be thinking, it's a big person coming down the embankment, so I always thought it was some type of creature.
Okay. So the road that you were travelling down on the way home, so you were leaving Cedar Creek, so the party was at Cedar Creek?
Yep, that's correct. It's Beanley Beaudesert Road.
Yep.
Just before the bridge to turn right into Luscombe?
Yeah, so it would have been the Luscombe Bridge?
Yeah, I'm a bit confused, either that or the other one. What's the bigger one?
The Stanmore Bridge is the big one that crosses,
I can't remember which one was there 26 years ago.
Yeah,
so it's been a long time since I've come back to this area, so yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thanks for coming. So it's the little bridge, so it's probably the Luscombe Bridge, the little one crossing the Albert River.
Flooded.
Yeah. And so you and your husband had pulled over on the side of the road?
Before that, so could have been half a K, somewhere around that.
Yeah. And so the description of what your husband saw, so you actually had did you have your door open?
Yeah, I was sitting like this, you know what I mean, holding, and the door was open to get extra eternal lights. In those days, I don't know if they had the switches. Your dad opened the door.
so he was looking. You were looking at him in the driver's seat.
Yeah,
and he was
and annoying him with my lighter.
Okay, so he was looking at something.
Yeah, and his face
approaching.
was like, oh, and I was just thinking he's trying to stop me from doing what I'm doing. Annoying him, yeah.
So you didn't believe him at the time?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Later on, of course, when he said what happened and, how stupid I was that didn't, listen to him, it could have been anything.
Yeah.
So it was getting quite close. That's why he was panicking as much as he did. So.
Wow. So, and you didn't really get a glimpse yourself?
Not really,
no. So what happened? Did he sort of just panic and turn the...
Just basic panicked and thought, out of here. That was his only objective, to get out as fast as he can.
So you were almost sort of half hanging out the door with the door open when he was leaving?
Yeah, the door would have come flapping and then I would have shut it proper.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was interesting.
Did he say, like, the shadow that he saw?
It was huge.
So did he give any indication of a height? Like, did he...
Like, it would have been... Because it was coming down from a embankment, but it was just towering and wide and high, like big.
So bigger
enough.
than your typical human.
Definitely was
proportions,
not
yeah.
human. Some animal were trying to go through what it could possibly be, but nothing that big that we
Sort of put a finger on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if you lived in America, you could say maybe a bear, but even it was bigger than a bear type.
Oh wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
And wide, very wide.
Yep.
Giving enough shadowing.
Yeah. Did he see any other features on it? Like, was he able to make out any hair, or was it purely just a big
Not that
figure?
sort
of,
more the shadow, the present coming down. Like, nothing else really.
Yeah. And it was approaching the car.
Approaching the car, he was like out of there. Yo.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting, and that's something worth racing off from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not every day.
It certainly sounds similar to like a lot of the experiences we've had here. So, I've only had a sighting myself once, but it was a huge sort of dark figure walking down the driveway, and it was in a basically a full moon. But I could clearly, distinctly make out this huge, massive two-legged creature. So, yeah. So, your husband didn't see any eyes glowing or anything?
Nothing
on
like
this figure
that.
walking down. So,
just describing it mainly just as a big shadow presence, wide and just approaching the car.
Wow.
So,
that's freaky.
Very freaky. Especially after, you know what I mean? Thinking how close and how stupid I was, and yeah.
Oh wow. So moving on to your second encounter, and this one's the one that's probably got me most interested, because what you describe doesn't sound like your typical Yowie to me. It sounds like something else. So I was wondering if you'd be able to just start from the beginning and just give that encounter. So you were at a different location at this stage, weren't you? Okay.
Yes, place called Wurundjeri, and it had bushes all along. There's a highway and there was bushes along there, and embankment that way. Our house, you sort of turned around the corner, and there was about 3 houses up the road was our house, and we were getting dropped off by a taxi late one night, my girlfriend Kim and I, and we told the taxi driver basically to stop at the corner, because it was, vaguely remember as being $12, and that's all we had, and we didn't want it to clock over anymore, so we thought we'll just get dropped off at the beginning of our estate and walk home. And my girlfriend and I got out, we said our goodbyes. I went one direction, she went home the other direction, and probably about 30 metres down the road, maybe 40 metres, in a distance, which I don't know, how far would you say the car is? I'm really not that
probably
good.
30 to 40 metres.
And again, so maybe I was a bit further along. In the distance there, I see a tall creature, very tall and distinctive, that he's got long ears and glowing eyes. I just went shut down mode, like can't really take that in. Turned around, ran back to my friend, like she hadn't even gotten home. I just recall grabbing my friend by the arm, shaking her, going, I've just seen it's got ears and eyes. And she's like, I don't want to know, don't tell me anymore. She went home. I then went the long way around home and told my mum the very next day the encounter. And I was speaking to your wife, because I just presumed I just used to call it a yowie, but she said that exactly describes the dogman, and I'd never heard of a dogman before. One time I was actually watching Scooby-Doo, or not watching, but the kids had it on, and the creature on Scooby-Doo,
this is one of the bad creatures.
One of the bad, weird creatures they encountered.
Because when you first told me that, I was thinking, you look like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a funny looking...
So you thought I saw
It's a big version
I was
of
on some
Scooby-Doo,
good stuff, hey? No. It was, one of the creatures they encountered, and I was so amazed how accurate it looked. Don't know, I wish I took notice of the episode, but I told my children, hey, this is that... Remember that story I told you when I was like 15, walking home and encountered that weird glowing eyes, ears creature? That looks like him. So have just learnt that it's a very rare encounter, and I feel quite privileged.
Yeah. So that's the thing that really grabbed me, was that when I said it didn't sound like a typical yowie encounter.
No.
The moment you started saying the ears.
Yes, definitely had long ears, so it was very distinctive things. Three things: how tall it was, even though I was at a distance. Ears, long ears pointing upwards, and glowing eyes. I can't remember if they were glowing red or glowing green. It was one of the just memory. I mean, we're talking a long time ago. So,
do you remember the approximate year that was?
Okay, let me think. 84.
84, wow. Yeah. So back at that time, Warrangurry was primarily like a lot of bush in the area, wasn't there? And the highway wasn't as developed.
No, exactly. It was a new suburb. There wasn't that many houses along the way. Where I was walking, I don't believe anything had developed there yet. So
the road that you were walking down, that was Hinkler, you were
yes,
saying?
that's
Hinkler.
correct.
Hinkler Drive,
So
Hinkler Road,
before then, when we looked in the maps, now there's roundabout and it's joining up and the highway, and it doesn't look at all it didn't resemble anything like what it used to look like anyway.
So you were saying you got dropped off at there's a corner store.
Yep, right at the corner store.
Which I think I worked out was on the corner of Hinkler and I think it's San Fernando.
That's it.
Yeah.
San Fernando is still there to this day.
Yeah.
It was owned by my school friend. Yep.
You have a funny story as to why you got dropped off there.
Yes,
the taxi driver.
That's right. It was we only had $12 between us, and the meter was already $12.50 or something like that, and we thought we don't want to clock up anymore, so we had to you couldn't go any further. You had to drop us off there.
Yeah, you think he could have taken you the extra 400 metres or whatever.
I know. Going back is so weird, because in 84, I don't know, things were different. Because my daughter, when I was telling her the story, she's 16 now, she can't understand how, one, my parents allowed me out to surface, two, that I was walking the streets at night. Things have changed.
Yeah, things have changed a lot, haven't they?
Yes, but in those days you had no reason to
worry.
Yeah. But it actually changed a lot after that. I could never again go visit my girlfriend in the cafe without her and a sister walking me home. Yeah,
I could understand that. Yeah. So the taxi driver dropped you off in front of the corner store there on the corner of San Fernando and Hinkler, and then you were heading home. You were living on Dornello Street at the time.
Right, yep.
So and you were heading in a northerly direction.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep. And so you'd only been walking how long when this thing appeared?
5 minutes,
5
probably.
minutes? Yeah.
Not long.
And so did you have any sort of gauge? Like if you were to sort of estimate the height of this creature, what would you sort of estimate or guesstimate?
Now? Just trying to look at that tree and trying to judge, it'd have to be 8 feet.
Wow,
definitely.
that's huge.
Huge.
And obviously the distinct thing there is the ears.
The
That's the
ears,
thing that really I found fascinating.
And how tall it was, even though it was in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
The ears and the eyes, the glowing red or green.
Because the eyes were actually glowing, weren't they? It wasn't a reflection of any lights or anything?
No.
Yeah.
And I can't really recall what lighting was around, if there's street lights or moonlight or anything like that, but it'd have to obviously be lit enough for me to spot it.
Mm.
Yeah, what you say, 30 metres?
Yeah, approximately, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like it. Yeah, so they were glowing and you think it was either a green or a red.
Yes.
Did you happen to see, I know the light was fairly dim, but were you able to make out sort of hair or anything, or did it have any clothes on, or?
Yeah, I think honestly I just shut down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's so unexpected to see something so out of the norm.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Your brain, is going half of it, but enough. Get out of there.
And you weren't really keen to stick around to find out where you...
Probably now I'd be more curious and
Yep.
take a lot more note and we'd be trying to get my mobile out and take photos. But as a 15-year-old, never experienced anything like that. Just quickly out of there. Just remember catching up to my friend, and she didn't have as long to walk, so obviously I was quick running and just grabbing her, shaking her, going, it's got ears, and she's like, don't tell me, it's got glowing eyes, and then the next day telling my mother, and to this day I only spoke to her probably about 2 weeks ago and said, oh, hey mum, do you remember? And she goes, yeah, I remember. But she's like, oh, what were you drinking, or were you on drugs? I'm like, no, no, I was sober, as but I don't think she really believes it, even though she remembers me telling her about it. I don't know if she actually...
Yeah. And I sort of get that reaction.
Yeah, because your child tells you something.
Yeah, exactly. And because I know I didn't believe in that sort of stuff until we started having the encounters.
Could you imagine if your child comes running up to you and go, Dad, I saw something in the... You'd go, okay, it could have been... anything, a shadow or but definitely the glowing eyes, green or red, is not something that you can even
especially self-illuminating. That's the thing
definitely
that I
self-illuminating find, and it's weird because you often love to really go back in that memory, but there was a lot of shutdown happened after that, and I think because I mainly remember the actual saying, talking, grabbing my friend, shaking her, telling her, then telling my mum. Like if I maybe hadn't done all those steps, I would look back now and go, oh, I imagined it, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Because the fear was so real and all the other things, so I definitely know
absolutely.
It was, and it wasn't in the bush, it was on the road. So there was not like you can't, like you looking.
Could have been the shadows of a tree.
Yeah, exactly, and then So definitely, and
because it's one of the reasons I find it fascinating is up until recently I didn't. Well, to be quite honest, up until fairly recently I hadn't even heard about Dogman.
Right.
You'd obviously seen werewolf movies on television, etc.
Yeah.
But I started looking further into the Yowie and Bigfoot after our encounters. That's when I started stumbling on some of these Dogman encounters.
Right.
Plus the fact that people were contacting us when we were retelling our experiences, saying, "Oh, that sounds like a Dogman." I'm thinking, what the heck is Dogman? Yeah. So I looked into it a little bit further, and
you say that's exact description.
Yeah. Like it's when because that's right. I got interviewed by a guy that does a YouTube channel called Crypto PTSD. And he does a combination of Dogman Encounters and Bigfoot Encounters, and he did this really good interview with a family that had an encounter. I can't remember where it was in America, but it's really freaky sort of stuff. And then I just dropped a comment saying, "Oh, thanks, another great interview, Dustin, Crypto PTSD, another great interview. I'm really glad we don't have experiences like that or encounters like that in Australia." And then some guy messaged me saying, "Oh, I think you might want to watch these videos." And then I'll watch these other videos from I think it's called Dogman Encounters. Can't remember the name of the guy that runs it off the top of my head. Wow. And he'd interviewed a lady at Currumbin Valley that grew up there and had experiences from when she was younger. I think it might have been teenage years or something, and then when she got married and had a family. And I'm thinking, wow, this is in the Currumbin Valley. This is sort of not all that far from where we live.
Yeah.
And really,
it's probably about 40 k's from.
Yeah, it's not all that far from that at Ken County. You had, and in fact, if you did a look at the map,
it would have all
you probably look at
those days.
A lot of the bushland was probably fairly interconnected. So, so when I heard that, and then when I heard your encounter, it sort of made me think, there's a lot more out there
Weird
than meets
things,
the eye.
Yeah.
Yep. So has it affected that experience? Obviously, shortly after that, it would have freaked you out. But has it affected your ability to go out at night and walk by yourself in dark places or
not
in the
really,
bush?
no. Oh, probably bush would be a different story. Yeah, because we live in the suburb now. It's not as scary.
Yep. So sorry, just going back to, I just want to sort of get a bit of a picture. When you were heading towards the Dogman, your friend was walking home, but she was going back westward on San Fernando, wasn't she?
That's right.
That way, and so you had to turn around to catch up to her, and you caught up to her and talk. But the thing that got me is that you actually walked home that night.
I had no choice.
It's like you've seen that thing, but you went the other way, didn't you?
Yeah. Like looking back, why didn't I? Yeah, those days you just couldn't ring your parents up, and I don't know, it's just different era, like the things I do for my kids, and whenever, if they're not safe or something, I'm there, but in those days you're expected to follow, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you just did what you had to do.
Yeah, and that my dad would have been awfully cranky if I rang him. Yeah, so it didn't even occur to me. It was like I had to get home. I'm not going that way because that's where Dogman is. I'm going the long way,
Too
and
bad
she didn't want to drop me home, and then she had to walk home on her
herself,
own. I would have ran.
It's too bad. Well, it's a good thing Dogman, or whatever the creature was, it appears like it was Dogman.
Yeah, definitely.
Didn't double back and stop you going
that would be
way.
really scary. That would have flipped me out. Yeah. Then I think I'd have psychological damage.
Look, to be quite honest, the encounters that we've had here appear all to be Yowie encounters to us.
But the weird thing is, like you're saying, that it's one of the most dangerous known out of the creatures. The Dogman?
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. If I actually had an encounter with what appeared to be a Dogman, that would just freak me out. I mean, we were almost ready to sell our block up here just with the Yowie stuff. But had it been Dogman, it would probably almost
out of here. But obviously, it didn't appear aggressive. Yep. So I was very lucky.
Maybe it'd already eaten for the night.
Yeah, that's right. But I feel like, I've got a good story anyway out of it.
Definitely.
Something to hand down to my grandchildren.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's sort of what we feel like here. Like, even though it was really scary there for a while, and even now we take
a lot. It's interesting, isn't it? Something. You have people over. Oh, by the way, we've got some stories to tell.
Exactly. And we take a lot of precautions, obviously, but it's sort of become a part of life now, and it does make life interesting. Yeah,
you live.
Yeah. so that, and then the other thing I want to keep doing too is I want to go and sort of start talking more to the neighbours in our street and in our general area, just to see if there's been any other. Because obviously, even though your encounters weren't directly tied in when you were living here,
no,
the first encounter was fairly close to here,
and that's how I met you, is because I was telling Tanya the stories, because she knew I lived on the street.
Yep.
And she knew I had Yowie experience. So when she was retelling your wife presumed that all my encounters were
here. Yeah, that's right.
So, and I had to say, I'm sorry, but they actually
were afterwards.
Yes.
But I'm convinced there's got to be some people in our street and in our area that have. It can't just be us that are experiencing. So I'm hopefully going to track some of these people down.
I feel like doing a door knock. Excuse me.
Or a flyer. So watch this space. But
next minute you'll be known as the loony Yowie guy.
Our neighbours think we're a bit loony, I think. So, but again, that makes life interesting. So I'm sort of at that stage of life where I really don't care now. So
exactly,
it's all good.
People want to believe, they'll believe what they want to believe, not.
Yep.
But the other thing was, when I was talking to my dad. He used to travel around in a caravan, and he said, throughout Australia, there's so many Yowie stories. You go to anyone, stop at any place and there'll be, you know, someone at the pub will tell you, you know what I mean? Or
And they're people that are
genuinely
grounded, people that you think there's no
reason.
way that... And it's funny too, because a lot of my friends have known me for years and years, and they struggle to believe what I'm telling them.
And
But because
even
they've
though
known me for years, and they've known that I haven't been one to BS them, but they don't not believe, but it's like that.
Yeah, or they just think...
It's so far outside their world, you know, ability to comprehend, because it's not doesn't fit into the normal that they struggle to fully grasp it.
And you get that because the same, if they had stories to tell, you'd probably, you know what I mean? Like if they came back and said, oh, they were on a lake and they saw a big Nessie come up, you know what I mean? You'd be like, oh, it could have been a log.
Exactly.
But, you know, you automatically, as humans, we do that.
You do try and make something fit within your logical worldview.
Definitely. And when you can't, then... Yeah. Like I was shut down seeing it. It was just like, what the heck?
What the heck was that? I don't
What is that? Yeah, actually I don't. I'm good. I'm out.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Michaela, thank you very much for coming and having a chat and sharing your encounters with us.
No, thank you for having me.
If you have any more, let me know.
Yeah,
we'll do another one.
Yeah, thanks.
But thanks again.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.